Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to look at how we create the collection add form. We will add a validation to it. Then we will see how we can reuse the code from the links section to add the functionality of deleting an individual collection and some of the other code changes that I have done so that the basic CRUD can be we can say, completed. So without wasting much time, let's get started. We have already seen the code for our listing page we had created. Over here, if I go to my pages folder, I have collections, I have index. Now, for the add page, obviously the first step is to create this add folder and then the index.tsx. That is something which is very common. We have seen this even when I created the page for the link add. In here, I have the collection add page. The router is here. I created the array for my breadcrumb, which is being passed to the layout component. I have the page title over here as well. And then apart from this basic markup, what it is doing is rendering the collection add form. It is passing an onSuccess function as well, which is actually used to redirect the user back to the collections page once we have a success. Now, the collection form doesn't redirect itself because the idea is that the form doesn't know what it needs to do after it has done its job. Once the submit has happened, when the AJAX request is done, a success is received or a failure is received, and then whoever invoked the form needs to decide what it needs to do on success, what it needs to do on failure. So for example, if my form is independent of the redirection, I can load the form inside a pop-up as well, and then I can have a function which is getting called on the success of the form submission, which basically closes the pop-up. So the same form which is on a page, for example, if I show you this form, when it is on the page, because on success, this function will be called, right? On success, we are calling router.push. So when I'm calling it from this page, it is taking the user to the collections page, the listing page of collections. Whereas if it is inside a pop-up, I will do collection add form, and on success, maybe I'll call a function which closes the pop-up. So this is the flexibility that we get if we have a standalone form component. Now let's get inside the collection add form and see what we have done. So inside this component, let's start from the top. I'm saying that these are the props which we will receive. Obviously, there is only one prop. We saw that we have the function on success. Interface iValues. If you remember from my links section, I define this because the type of values that the onSubmit function will receive and even the initial values is taken from here. Okay, I can actually do this as well. I think I have done this in the URL, but let me quickly check that as well. So this is going to be inside the URLs add, and here, sorry, the URL add form, my bad. Let's open that up. Yes, I hinted it with iValues, so this was missing. I have added it now. What I'm saying is this is the interface iValues. My initial values is of type iValue, and these are the values that will go into the formic field. Let's hold on to it. I have a function which handles the form submit. We will again look into that. Here we have the formic component. The formic component is allowing us to render the form. It takes a couple of mandatory properties, for example, the initial values. So that's what we have passed over here, right? It only has name. It needs an onSubmit function, so that's over here. what we are doing is we get the values, we had the set submitting reset form from the formic helpers, and then whatever response, I mean, we send the data, right? So for example, values.name, we will get that. We send that to the HTTP service post method, and we are using this collection URL. We are making a post call. So it, in a RESTful way, triggers the create API, or rather the create function. Okay. And it basically makes an entry in the collections table, returns as the response. And here I'm checking if the status code is 201. I reset the form and I trigger the onSuccess function, which is coming as a prop. Okay. Then moving along, if you see this time, I have an additional property over here called validation schema. Validation schema is taking the collection add schema, which if I open up is nothing but a yup object. So export constant collection add schema is an yup object which has a shape where we have one property called name. It has these rules which says that it should be a string and it is a required field. Why do we do that? Well, if I refresh and if I hit the save button without typing anything, it does give me this validation error, right? And that's what we are precisely trying to do. All right, so the validation is given over here. The validation schema is attached, so the formic form knows what are the different rules and where they apply. The name is being used to map. If you see, if I open it up again, the name key is used because this field has the name. Okay, so the form element is here, the form field is here, and then we have the save button. This save button, click off it, will trigger the on submit, and on submit the entry will be made and the user will be taken to the listing page. So let's try that out. Something new. If I hit save, it takes me to this page and it is sorted by name. So we get our new entry over here. Now, there is also the next functionality which we need to see, which is the delete function. This is something which we have already done in the links section. If you see, it opens up the pop-up, and if I want, I can submit. This is very similar. So what I have done is, let me open up the table first, the collection table. From my previous video, you would have seen that this was a lot of code replicated from the links table, right, which is over here. So again, I didn't do too much. I started sending a new prop, which is a function called onDelete. Okay, it will get the collection and it returns void. So this onDelete method will be called from the table when the delete function or when the delete button is called. I added a state variable called toDelete, which can be null or iCollection. And then if I come down over here, I added a TD over here, a blank TH. That's why we don't have anything over here. And then in here, the last TD is where the delete thing is being added. So HTML for delete link class, and on click, what I am doing is I'm calling the set to delete state function where the collection is sent. And this thing, right, set to delete is being called, and the collection which is being clicked, right, or the delete button of the collection row. For example, if I click over here, this particular collection will be set into the state. I could have also used the ID, but these are very small objects, so I don't think right now it's too big of a problem, especially because I won't have more than 10 in one page. Okay, so I set that state variable. Okay, I do this, and then I have a confirmation model. Now, this confirmation model will ask If I need to delete it, entity I'm passing on confirmation, what I do is I call the on delete function, which is coming as a prop from the page component. Now, in the page component of collections where we are rendering the table, let's see, this is my collection table. I am sending this prop on delete. I have a delete collection function. Let's see what we have over here. It's an async function which expects a collection. That is fine because over here as well, I'm expecting a collection, the onDelete function. So the onDelete function calls the delete collection, passes that collection, HTTP service calls the delete function with this URL where collection/collection ID is passed. And once that is done, it fetches the new list of collection and updates it. So yeah, this is as straightforward. Now, if you try to compare my code, right, of the collection with URL, you will see because we have written very similar code, it's very predictable. It becomes a pattern and the CRUDs start to get quite easy. And that is the best thing, that if your structure is good, you will have very quick development time and repeatable code. So yeah, that's how we have this entire functionality. So if I delete this, you can see the confirmation pop-up comes in, I hit submit and that goes away. So that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. If you have watched so far, so thank you. If you like this video, click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.